So we have three basic forms of chords we're going to use: the major form, the minor form, and the dominant 7 form, which sometimes will be written out as just DOM 7, or you will see it as just 7. For example, you'll see G and then a 7 next to it. Each of these forms of the chord has its own distinct sound, and we need to learn to recognize these sounds so we know when to use these chords and when not to use these chords. For example, we'll start with the major chord, and for the purpose of this discussion, I will be using E major, E minor, and an E7 to illustrate the differences between the sounds of these different chord forms. So the major chord, I like to think of this as your happy, kind of joyful sounding chord. So for example, here is E major, which has a pretty happy sound to it. Now, let's compare this, and this will sound happier after we compare it to the minor form of this chord, the E minor. When we go to an E minor, you're going to notice this E minor has a little bit more of a down, kind of sad, melancholy feel to it, or sound to it. I hesitate to say depressing. It's not really depressing, but it is a little bit sadder. So once again, we have the major, happy, a little bit more up. Now listen to the minor form. And you can hear how that sounds a little bit sadder. It's not quite as just happy as this E major. The E minor has a lot more melancholy feel to it. And you can think about the uses of these too, where, you know, picture any movie or TV show you've ever seen. If there's a really happy scene going on, and most movies or TV shows have music going on in the background, if there's a happy scene going on, you're usually going to hear major sounding music, a little bit more up sound. If there's something sad happening, some tragic, you're usually going to hear this minor sound. And take that into consideration next time you're watching a movie or a TV show, or even commercials, I notice, use it too. And just listen for that, see what's happening, and then listen for that. Do you hear the happy kind of sound? Do you hear the sad kind of sound? And you'll be able to say, okay, well, that sounds more major, or that's pretty bummed out. That sounds pretty minor to me. Besides these two forms, another common form that we use, especially in these chords down here, will be the dominant 7 form, or as we just said, the 7 form. I like to think of the 7 form as having kind of a country feel to it, or a rock, well, not necessarily rock, but rock blues maybe, or a blues sound. So we'll go through and compare and contrast here. So we have the major, happy sound, minor, a little bit more sad, and then the 7 form, which is, I really think, kind of a bluesy form, or country rock, something. That is the dominant 7 sound. Major, minor, dominant 7, or just the 7. Now we need to think about, where would we use these? Why do we have 3 different forms of the chord? And a lot of it is basically just, that's how we add different flavor, different color to the music we're playing, different sounds. Maybe we don't want a song to sound happy all the time, so we'll throw minor chords in there to mix it up a little bit. Maybe I want a little bit more of that country feel, or that blues feel or sound, so I'll throw a 7 chord in. I mean, nothing's stopping you from using all 3 either, but a lot of it has to do with the mood of the music. That's why we would use these. So it's really important to be able to distinguish whether you're hearing major, minor, or 7th, because that'll help you when you're either learning a song or maybe writing some of your own music. It's nice to know, well, Do I want a happy sound? Do I want a sad sound? Do I want to feel a little bit more of the blues in this tune? So that's why we need to know the differences between major, minor, and dominant seventh.